me ayudó porque descubrí ahí la improvisación. La improvisación es algo que yo pienso que cada músico del estilo que sea, del clásico, del flamenco, de cualquier otra música, debería aprender, porque en la improvisación te da mucha libertad y a la vez te da mucho conocimiento de dónde estás tocando, de cómo estás tocando, de qué armonías están en cada momento, ¿no?
In this series about how to follow Paco, I will explain that advice from the point of view of my realization, what I realized through his advice. And remember, he said that exploring improvisation helped even him, so what to speak of us. And he said very clearly that you will get freedom and knowledge about how you play, and knowledge of over which harmonies are you playing at every moment. That means as cause, not as effect of it, as in a causative way. So to approach that, we will have to better try starting from the last part of the advice in the opposite direction, in reverse way, in inverse way, right? So we start by first knowing what is not following Paco de Lucia, namely the parroting business, and believing that the flamenco music is about playing falsettos like classic guitar, and not being cause of anything but just effect. This is number one. The number two is to get knowledge, the last thing he said actually, which is to get knowledge of over which chords are you playing, over which harmony are you playing at every moment. And then to do that, we need to create analysis and make scores and get ear training and expand your vocabulary of harmony and chords, etc., and their specific application to the modern flamenco music. So that's the step two. Then the step three, we get to know how we play and how we learn through things. And then we get one example of one piece, but we learn many things through it. We learn composition, we learn rhythm, we learn structures, counterpoint, chords, improvisation, many things, and of course composition. It opens the door to compositional things. So this is the step 3, and in the step 4 we realize what is freedom. That is the first thing he said you will get. Those are the rewards. The process is to explore improvisation field as the goal, and that's how he went all his life. And therefore this is ultra valuable advice. Is the only one advice he has ever given about guitar playing publicly, and therefore it is highly valuable. So then we get knowledge. The first step that is up to you how you realize it through this process. And therefore it is very interesting, because you will discover that when you play music made by others, or falsettas or other things, then you are not you're not causative, you're not cause, you're effect only of the music, of the others, the rhythm section, the hand claps, the other stuff, the falsetta itself, its notes, you are only effect, you are not causative. And then the fourth thing, you come under control. You sit in the driver's place. I don't know if that's correct to say, but yeah, you become under control. Now you are piloting your own airplane, not that you are effect of the other thing, of repeating notes like a parrot. You have to be able to create in the spot the thing you. So that is the fourth thing, and therefore these are the 4 steps. I have to say it here, because otherwise some people who like fast explanations will not listen all the elaborations they made after. Hopefully not, but I know this happens, and therefore better I say it right away. So how to really follow Paco de Lucia? It includes what is not to follow him. Number 1, knowledge about harmony, which implies everything, and based on his way to practice with vocal pieces for analysis, etc. Then knowing how we play, coming to learn that, and that implies also all the examination about being honest and know which are the areas we need to improve, etc. And the fourth thing, which is that you get finally freedom to choose to be causative, to control you, to create and think against, or as opposite to just repeat what is already being done before, or music, what others do, not what you do. And that is the only freedom. You can play only 2 ways. Or you create, or you are effect of others. When you play falsetto playing especially, that is the only thing that happens, that you are totally effect. So then therefore to understand these topics takes a lifetime. So take it easy and take it with passion and with enthusiasm, and you will get there. How many things we can learn from pieces, vocal pieces like this? I see Paco many times playing improvisation over these kind of pieces, and then I wonder why he was asking. He said, this is to understand the structure and to see what the melody does. So it means it's highly relevant for us. We can learn, in fact, by doing it, we will learn harmony, expand our chord vocabulary, and of course learn to improvise, which is the essence of this getting freedom and knowing how you play. And of course applying the strummings, for example, like if we know how to play strumming with that. say this is one thing. So you put in practice your accompaniment thing, grow your harmonical thing, and also learn how to improvise, which we will see now. So let's get a complete reading of the structure here. We need to assign Roman numerals below, and as my student Alex Broughton mentioned, this appoggiatura here over this pedal on the 5th, 7th flat 9 here and here. The 4 minor could be also 4 minor, so diminished, because the melody actually has that. Well, anyway, let's read it first of all, how it goes. Wow.
Cuando rozamos ahí ante la más grande, la chiquitita.
See, that is to know on which harmony we are at every moment. And of course, this, how we read it, we have to read it first. The simplest way is to play the chord, just reading it as it is here, as it comes. If it says 6, 6, otherwise we'll have to do weird subdivision because the piece is in 4/4, obviously, but it has a whole tricky way to go because of the singers doing that often and even changing it in live performances. But anyway, this very simple way to count that with the value of the chord, which you have here below, is this. Let's check this one. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, One, two, one. Welcome to the new series, How to Really Follow Paco. And that is because today I was with one of my best students there in Belgium, Mr. Hadi, and we were explaining this topic, that what is the real spirit of the Paco de Lucia style. And in fact, although I talk about this topic in other videos, many others, probably there are 2,000 in this channel, but I would like to insist that the first message we just listened there of 40 seconds duration, I have 30 years trying to follow it, which means that it's a very cryptical message. It's not something to listen just like the news or the results of the football game, etc. This is something which you have to analyze very carefully, because as you know, Paco, in interviews, he always said, before the interview, he warned the guy, please don't ask me advices about guitar playing, because I don't know what to say. So he was reluctant to get that kind of questions, people in interviews go and say to John McLaughlin or to people like that, they will ask, what do you advise to the new aspirants to play or anything, right? And then they say something. Well, Paco was very reluctant to do that. But in this specific video you saw at the beginning, out of his own goodwill, he gave 40 seconds worth the whole universe of what is about his style and what is the goal actually to go for. It's worth to mention that he said 3 times the word debería, which means you must. And he did specifically address flamenco guitar players or anyone from any style, but he said also flamenco there. And he said at the end that improvisation will give you freedom and knowledge. And then he said knowledge of how you play and over which harmonies you are playing at every moment. These things, what does it mean to know, to have knowledge about which harmonies you are playing every moment? This is a question. So that takes years to answer. But to get an idea for new people and for those who are already into the study program, I have 90 students, and so, all of them, but those who are from the intermediate advanced platform can address this topic. And this is why, because the real intention of Paco is not to become a parrot of his music. Otherwise, why he didn't say we should play falsettos, and with that we will get freedom and knowledge. Good luck, because falsetto playing is inside the box, and that is exactly the difference between old flamenco and everyone else. Not only old by date, but I have to mention that I haven't seen one guitar player improvising, one flamenco guitar player here in Spain, and that includes specifically everyone from the most famous to the non-famous. Nobody is following this advice. I tried to follow it for so many years. In fact, he told me this personally many times before that interview, but thanks to God it's there publicly shown, and you can see he himself saying this helped even me. He started saying that. First of all, he said to study improvisation and explore that realm, it even helped me. So what to speak of you? Right? Because we're not Paco de Lucia. So if it helped him, how much this will help you? This is the questions I want you to do yourself. You need to question you. If you want to advance in music, you need to place questions yourself to check if what we are doing is right. Because first of all, as we were talking with Hadi today, the main thing is first we need to know what is not to follow Paco, which means repeating like a parrot his music or his falsettos. That is not following Paco, number one. Because if we don't know that, then we are in trouble, Houston. We have a problem, Houston. Right? Everybody's into falsetto playing because it's the easy thing inside the box and just repeating notes made by other. But by the very specific nature of falsetto playing cannot give you freedom because you have to play the phrase there. Even there, of course, Paco did not eliminate it. He said we have to eliminate falsettos, nor I am against falsetto playing. I like falsettos also, and I like to play them, but that, as Paco said, that is 30% only. That is not the all in all, as everyone goes today for famous ones and no famous ones. They go after this falsetto thing and then remain there stuck in the parrot nature of that thing, because you cannot become creative there unless you are Paco himself, who was even playing falsettos, changing them all the time and mixing the things and always altering passages. He never played twice one thing, which also is there, and I will post it in the description of this video, the interview where he said that again. He has never played twice the same thing. People who is after tabs and this stuff, they never notice how come in this Paco de Lucia, so how come he never repeated one piece from an album, same, in a live performance or anything. So this is the question here, that his flamenco, even in falsetto playing rhythm, is very dynamic, always changing things and trying to search other alternatives, because for him falsetto playing was very boring. This is the reason why he joined John McLaughlin, El Di Meola, and Chick Corea and these people, because flamenco is too small for him in that sense, as Chick Corea said in his last documentary. They talked to Chick, that if Maestro Armando Chick Corea can set some words, and he said, Paco you cannot shrink him to fit into flamenco. It's too big for that. Paco's bigger than this, and that's why he reinvented it. So if we want to know what is modern flamenco, meaning Paco de Lucia's style, and that is not playing his falsettas literally note per note as if we are playing Mozart, Beethoven, or some classical music. This infection of the classical mentality inside flamenco is all over. I remember when I asked him before, can I open a channel and then teach stuff about do and that? And I said, well, yeah, it's a great idea, but I don't know how you will deal with this misunderstanding. Because in Spain, he said specifically, now it's all over, but then he said in Spain, there is a big misunderstanding on this point. I don't know how you will get them to open the eyes and see what it is. Because falsetto playing, by its very content, is limited. So then therefore, of course, he searched beyond. And when he searched beyond, he discovered, he said there at the beginning, all this is related to the very first 3 words he said, it even helped me. Esto me ayudó a mí, dice he. Right? What does it mean, that thing? Should we take that if it helped him? Of course. At least that's our point for us followers of Paco de Lucia, my students, some of his followers, and including me. I am also not a teacher, I am a student. I became black belt or whatever, and then help others on this art, but I am not the teacher is him. So this Paco de Lucia styles, what is about this thing? Well, it's exactly about that, about going out of the box. And out of the box means you need to get knowledge by how he said there, right there he said, through exploring improvisation, and everyone should do it, he said, classical or any style, and flamenco, he said there, should study this thing. And now, when he said that, then you say, okay, but now what? But how you do it? How will you do improvisation? How you will follow his advice? That's why these series are meant to follow that 40-second advice, to try to give an idea about it. It will take you years. And myself, I went at least 20 years to explore that, and I haven't explored it totally. So this is 40 seconds, big homework, guys. Yeah. And this is to know, just to understand that what he said there is the only advice he has ever given publicly about music and playing guitar. He has never given any other advice. If you know other advice, post it in the description and the comment section, I mean. Because there is nothing. Paco never said any advice about playing guitar. Never. Only this one. So, he was also very cryptic. This is a cryptic thing, you see. You have to delve into and to discover the message for you on these words, if you're interested to learn that. Right? Just like someone who wants to learn Picasso's painting, then he has to go to that and learn also even how Picasso did grab the pencil, starting from there, which pencil he used, how was it. So you see every detail. So this we are talking about composition. Therefore, knowledge you get by exploring improvisation. Now, how we do that? right? Because it seems that he's just saying, study jazz. No, he's not saying that. He's saying every style of play should know improvising, because improvisation, just because in flamenco he included improvisation which was not there, that is the difference also between modern and old stuff. That doesn't mean that what we play is jazz. It's not jazz, it's flamenco. In fact, he was very angry when people pointed out or labeled him as jazz music, especially the tradition, who hate him for breaking all the so-called unbreakable rules they settled with their narrow-mindedness, etc. So for what Paco has to go to live out, actually he lived 40 years in Mexico, he had to go outside of his country because of this opposition, right 1 year after he recorded Almoraima album. So for you to know these things, because this is very confidential knowledge, but if you watch this and say, yeah, I saw it, I want you to ask yourself, how good are you at it? Not I watched it already. How good are you at doing what he said? That we explore improvisation and get knowledge and freedom. And knowledge of how we play, he said. Conocimiento de cómo tocas. Not what. What to play, that is the falseta playing thing. That's why he, right away, by the use of this word, he excluded automatically the falseta playing stuff. Because otherwise he will say knowledge of what you play. Right? And he said knowledge of how you play. How is not what. What is the falseta thing? Because it's something fixed, which is already done. It's not created there. Improvisation means, and I get this definition from Chick Corea, that it's a movement, it's a motion that you get to create something new spontaneously, right in the spot. Not that you plan 20 things and then you think you are improvising, and someone there, an innocent guy, just sent me one video today of another player and saying, what do you think of this improvisation? I have to say, I am very sorry to tell you, this is not improvised, this is very planned. It looks like if it is improvised, but this is not improvisation. So improvisation means creating spontaneously in the spot. To do that, which even helped him, you need to get knowledge, and that knowledge you get it by exploring improvisation field. And now we are saying how we do that, because we need to know how we are playing and over which harmonies we are at every moment. Seems something like, okay, I studied jazz and then, or harmony, traditional or modern harmony, and that's all. But if you go to a jazz teacher or to a jazz book or to study anywhere harmony, you will not learn how Paco used this modern harmony in flamenco. You will not know how to use it. Of course, there is many people who know modern harmony and jazz, but that is applied to that style. What about this style? That's why I'm explaining these things, which he was very happy that I do, actually, and always encouraged me to do it, because he said, you really can explain this thing because you studied music. And you also know me, so therefore, this combination here we need to, and to do that I had to go over all the discography, and of course I know how to play falsetas. I am the only Spanish guitar player who played Rio de la Miel in a Spanish TV program. I will post also the description of this for you to see it. Nobody else, only Paco de Lucia played it. In the Spanish TV, who played that? If there is someone in Spain, in the Spanish television, let me see who is. So, and I play only what? Falseta playing of his greatest album of all times, Lucia. Right? The Rio de la Miel Bulería I played there with the Chaton and other, some guys there playing hand clap. So that was falseta. I know how to play falseta playing. Of course I know it, but that is not the all in all. In fact, Paco told me this personally years ago when he was saying what to do for his next album, etc. And then I suggest something. I said, look, if I have to, suppose I have to compose a soleá now. If I have to compose a soleá and do something that I have not done before, even I am in trouble. So what to speak of you or anyone else? I don't want to say names, but he named very famous people around. Right? He said, what to speak of you or them? If I have trouble to find things that I have not done, because he wanted to be innovative in every album, right? It's good to clear up here that, well, although he never said it publicly, he kind of retired from his compositional enthusiasm right when his mother died, right? So he said, this is my last album. In other words, anything which is after the year 1988 or like this is not his peak thing, and of course, due to certain specific arrangements with the record companies who were challenged with this Napster's thing and file sharing, etc. He explained me a bit of that. He had to continue playing live, but not out of his will, but to fulfill some specific clauses of the contracts with the record companies, etc. And then they also demanded him to make the Cositas Buenas album, which of course he never liked that so much because he was forced to do it, and because it's not obviously his best record, not in the whole world, I can say that. And well, he was saying this is not very well mixed, etc. That's to know only that they gave a Latin Grammy for it, and he didn't want to pick it up. But he said, you see, these people, those are the same guys at first. They criticized me, and now they said Grammy to the worst album I made. All those other guys there thought it was a joke, but well, I left it to you. After all, this is so the world of opinions, right? So I am entitled to say mine with my experience and take what you want and take what is useful to you. If I can give you some knowledge that is useful to you, take it, otherwise I have no problem. I know what to do myself because he indicated me very clearly the things I ask. So going back to the topic, it's important to know that Paco de Lucia, of course from the 67, is not the real Paco de Lucia. When he searched out other things and start to reinvent the style, that is the real Paco. And that one has a peak up to the year 98. Now, there is another thing which I discovered examining this quiz video, which I will post also the description, that the Manuel de Falla thing is extremely important for him because it was not only an inspiration. He said, I always think of Manuel de Falla when I compose, and he was very demanding on himself on this. So therefore, but improvising was the way that he found his pieces actually. People don't know that he never came to, so all of a sudden and again got inspired by one touch by one finger from the celestial plane and then played. No, that was not how he did it. He did all the things he did improvise. First intuitively, and then more intuitively, even after playing with Chick Corea and with John McLaughlin, with monsters of improvisation, called the genius of these times, best composer of this time, also Mr. Chick Corea, etc. So the one thing here we have to point out is that it's very difficult because Paco is too big to understand that way. So if you go through this falsetto playing, you will get nothing, but just repeating like a parrot. So repeating like a parrot is not the real thing. That he told me this 20 million times. That falsetto playing is gone. It's exhausted. Even he cannot do something that has not done before. So that's what he said there. I didn't believe it then from himself, but I think it applies to me and to everyone else for sure. I haven't seen it. Nowadays in Spain, famous or not famous, there is not one project, one album, one guitar player who is doing anything that Paco has not done already 30 years ago. Fair enough. This is how it is. If someone can prove me wrong, I am willing to accept the defeat, but I can tell you this is not happening easily now. Yeah, every day is not born Mozart. Yeah, people like Mozart is not born every day, right? Every weekend one. No, these people come very often to the planet. So then, therefore, because this is rare to get such a genius in front, and then if we try to use what he said there about knowledge, getting knowledge and freedom. Freedom means when you have opportunity to choose from one thing to the other. When you think that the only option is one, you have no freedom because you cannot choose. Choosing itself means I choose or this. But if this is two of the same, how I choose is the same thing. That's a falsetto playing thing that they go in circles doing. They know it, some of them at least. Some others are more anesthetized. Right? But some who are aware will understand this very clearly. And at the description I will post another thing about his process of composing, some related videos there which you will be interested to see. So letting this to be simplified into 3 or 4 steps. how to really follow Paco is, first of all, know what is not to follow him, which means falsetto playing thing. And why? Because it's limited, it's made by others, and you are effect, not cause. You have to become causative and get in control of the things. When you improvise and create, you control the thing. When you have to play phrase made by other person, other falsettos, etc., that is not freedom. And then you are effect, not cause. You have to become causative, not effect of what is being played. That's why you need to get knowledge to do it. And that again, let's clear that nothing of these things you can learn by watching a video or 20 billion videos. No way. You need to explore this under a specific guidance and with a teacher in the at hand. Otherwise, you cannot learn this. Only maybe 1% or 2%. In fact, this video is just to give an idea, because I told you this is a very big topic, how to follow Paco really. So this is number one. And then number two is what to do now. He said there, it even helped me. So he points out the goal in this video, explaining that it's improvisation where we have to go, because that is infinite, right? The falsetto playing is very finite thing. It's very limited. It comes a blind alley corner that you cannot go out of that. Like falsetas por arriba, it cannot be. This is something that has a limit, right? And therefore, that's not. He never said just play falsetas and you will get knowledge and freedom. He didn't say that. He said improvisation. This is what you have to explore. Now, how we do that? This will be the number two, because we have to start by the end of the advice where he said you need to get knowledge of where are you, over which harmonies you are playing at every moment. And that will be the step two, which we will go in this video over, because other things Paco said that the cante flamenco is very important. Why the cante flamenco is important? He never meant that the peñas are important or anything, or the narrow-minded traditionalists or the Mairena thing is relevant. He never said that. What he said that everything is based on cante. In fact, he said, I wanted to be a singer, but I was chubby and very shy. You have seen him for sure in interviews and in different occasions, and in some of his documentaries, where he said that he wanted to be a singer, not a guitar player. But he was shy because was chubby, etc. And then, well, of course, he liked a lot Camarón. He created Camarón, actually, in one sense. And also improved all regarding cante flamenco. Through that, what he recorded with Camarón de la Isla. So, meaning that the cante has a very important role, the singing thing, but not just in how the kitsch people interpret it for snob purposes, but deeply to get in knowledge of that. And the gypsy community, which I am more into these gypsy singers, because those are the only ones who are really accepted Paco's harmonic innovations by heart and who follow this thing. Guitar player, soloist, nobody is following Paco. Nor in technique, nor in composition, and nor in philosophy, nothing. In improvisation, forget about it. It's not there. But these singers and lyric makers like Quique Dutreras, these people, all these gypsies who are more than guitar player, they play a bit the guitar also, but they are lyric song makers, so to say. So then therefore, to compose a piece in flamenco, you need to know the structure of the cante. So therefore, to know which harmony we are getting in every moment, over which harmony we are playing, is a very deep subject. That's number two. And then number three is that we have to then therefore learn the structure. And in this, the structure, how the melody has to make sense with the chord changes, which chords can be used. In fact, these gypsy people, they immediately notice that, yes, we need to use more chords. Why we have to use only 4 chords? And as Paco said, play just 4 frets, and then have to sell guitar saying, I sell guitar used only the 4 frets, the rest is brand new. Yeah, because we are ignorant of harmony, and that's why Paco, rhythmically he improved because he made it very steady, etc. But he said, my contribution is on the harmony thing. Also, mainly because before Paco there were not existing all these chords, etc. So then therefore, but these gypsy guys, the singers, they got it completely. So therefore, just as I see he did, because when he was at home, he usually put some music like this, like what I do at the beginning of my videos. This is actually my practice. It's not me playing, and that's what I see him playing like that so many times, and you cannot imagine how marvelous things were there of him improvising, just random things, fooling around pieces of vocal pieces of other, like these tangos and different things like that. And then he played the guitar over the singer, which of course you cannot do with the singers there in the public most of the time. But he did. He put as a secondary role the singers who were the main guys. But anyway, this is another thing. To go more to the point, the fact to learn improvisation and practice your improvisation based on first knowing over which harmony you are every moment. So you need to have a score, like what we showed there in this video, and then analyze that thing. Then you need to know these chords, and then where the chord happens, what is the duration of the chord, and the Roman numeral degree that will indicate you how you can use that. Also in other keys for composition, for improvisation, etc. Then once we do that, then now we can play with these vocal pieces and understand what's the melody doing along with the chord changes. So then once we have that, then now that the step one is done, actually step two is done. But then, of course, to make sense of that, you need to do so many pieces. And then ideally you need to, because here I show you the piece and I show you this chord, it lasts so much, etc. But you need to know it when you put some music there, you need to in your mind, it should appear the picture of the chord you are playing, right? So this is one thing that is related to ear training things, right? In ear training, that's how we practice ear training, not just any ear training, specifically related to this style. And for that reason, it has a very high value to practice improvisation and explore these kind of pieces from the gypsies, because that's how Paco did also. I just learned it from him because I saw him doing that, and I wondered, what is this thing? So I asked him, why you play like this over the thing? And this is because this helps you to understand the structure of the melody, how the melody moves. Eso te ayuda a entender la estructura y cómo el papel de la melodía, cuál es el rol de la melodía y qué melodías otras puedes meter. What are the things you can also put there in. This is highly relevant. This is following Paco, to know that. And therefore, of course, I teach this in Skype. If you are interested from any point or from any level, you are welcome to join the course. And this, I teach it personally. I can lead you exactly from the point you need to go, and you can grasp things because you need some information there, which some of it is also in the common tenets of harmony in jazz field or in other fields. But as I told you before, studying that separately or from books or from that, I don't recommend you, because you will waste a lot of time and learn things that you will never use. And what we need to do is the application, because Paco said you get knowledge of how you play. How is more important than what. Internet and in YouTube there are millions, or I don't know if millions, or plenty of lessons, of guitar lessons about what to do. Do this scale, this lick, this and that. Do you have the tabs? Yeah. Oh, I'm great now. Right? This is what to do. You do this scale, this lick, this exercise, this, etc. This is this. That is what. And how is about you. So how is how you will do it, and how you will do it. Again, this thing cannot be learned by watching videos. You need to do it precisely and very carefully under the guidance of expert teacher. Otherwise, you cannot learn this thing. This is just to clarify it, and cannot be explained, of course, in videos of whole thing, because this is about your understanding. How you are playing is about you. That's why Paco said you get knowledge of how you are playing through this improvisation study, to the study of that, to exploring through, with going with your whole soul through this thing, right? In the flamenco style, of course, because that's what he always said. I play only flamenco. I never play jazz. I never play Stella by Starlight or all the things. He was not a jazz player himself. So obviously, this is just the attack of the tradition, what they say, to invalidate him. But that's pretty useless, because again, now as you can see, flamenco singers are using many of these tools, what are implementations, chords that he used, and it's becoming increasingly complex. They can't accompany even thing because it has many chords, and so it's useful to have scores. When you listen to music, you should know what this is the fifth of the flat seven, this is the fifth of the flat third, this is substitute dominant, this is that. You need to identify the chords. Otherwise, what you are doing is just repeating things. And of course, to get you there, and because these series are meant just to give an idea about what it is. And if you want to study, then send me an email and you can join me in the Skype the course. You can learn it practically speaking in no time if you do the things proper, which means do it yourself and be confused forever. Number one. And number two is that we need to have very clear what is not to follow Paco. And this is almost everyone. I'm very sorry that this is the reality, but this is what it is. And again, don't waste time trying to negate it or challenge that, because I will have to put you the Trolls video on which I challenge them to play in case they want to waste my time, because I need to use my time very widely. And also, I am also studying, I need to practice. So I am not wanting to argue, and therefore it's good to end it up with a disclaimer to say, this is a disclaimer, that this video is only intended to understand more about the philosophy of Paco regarding music, his approach, his innovations, and how you can do something with it. I'm not talking here with the intention to insult anyone, to diminish the work of anyone. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, just like what he said, this is black, to me this is black, and now I said this is black, the same thing. Of course this is white, the bottom, so, and this is gray, so, right? But I'm not changing stuff. I'm trying to tell you exactly what most confidential things in this course we will study that I learned from him, of the analysis and all that. And therefore, understanding Cante Flamenco means understanding this thing, for which you need to know harmony, and for which you need ear training, right? And therefore, for instance, if I put a piece, this one here we were explaining, we will just, the step one really, from the scratch, will be that we play just the chords and count the chords while playing with the duration, like this, for instance. One second, let me see this thing here, this one. Two, three, four, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Muy bien. Pablo.
Sí, Paco, ¿qué es para usted la música popular y qué es la música elitista?
Yo creo que la música elitista es el refinamiento de la música popular. Por ejemplo, el flamenco. El flamenco originalmente es una música popular, la música del pueblo de Andalucía. Pero creo que ya no le pertenece más al pueblo, porque de pronto habemos gente que nos hemos pasado toda una vida encerrados, puliendo esa expresión popular. Entonces ha llegado a un nivel en el que el pueblo ya no tiene acceso, sobre todo a los matices que vamos consiguiendo la gente como yo, que nos pasamos muchas horas elaborando esa música.